Hi there everybody, welcome to this week's edition of The Verdict. With Royal Ascot taking centre stage last week, we're going to go far afield to find 6 races of particular interest. I think we've got some nice horses to have a look at, some for your Racing TV tracker as well. Mention of Royal Ascot, the best time performance there, it was Paddington in the St James's Palace Stakes. He'll be very hard to beat wherever he goes next. Let's crack on with the show then. We're going to go to 3 separate venues. We'll start at Chelmsford, we'll go to Leopardstown, and later in the week at Newmarket for 3 races from there on the July course. Let's start at Chelmsford and we'll have a look at the times that the winners put up. Starlust taking the opening contest, the Defiant, Paradise Row, Madame Fenella, War in Heaven, Mucka Magic for the Gay Kellaway team, and Long Tradition, horse that I want to have a look at, putting up the best time on the card, completing 10 furlongs in 2 minutes 3.55, just 1.25 outside standard. That is a very good performance from Long Tradition. 3-1 favourite for this race was Idi Fixe. It was just ahead of Stormcatcher, 7-2. 4-1 Long Tradition, and one step beyond a 6-1 shot, 7-1, and bigger the rest. So let's crack on and have a look at this race and the quite eye-catching performance of Long Tradition, who jumped out of stall number 9 in the Godolphin Blue under Christian Howarth. Stormcatcher came from stall number 4, finished second, and one step beyond. He came here on the back of a couple of wins, was back in 3rd place. And this really is visually very eye-catching. The first thing to say is that we don't have sectional times, course track sectionals not in operation at Chelmsford, but we can see this final time and really equate it to being a very good performance. 2 minutes 3.55. You think about it, if they've gone even 12s here, you're looking at 2 minutes. That is the benchmark for mile and a quarter performances. If the horses can break 2 minutes, they are world class. Not many can do it. This horse has gone 2 minutes 3.55. So in this grade, this is a very good final time. So I think we can say that the gallop was even because of that good final time. And this fellow was coming back off a layoff. He'd been off the track 9 months. But Saeed bin Suroor is a past master at getting horses into the winner's enclosure off a layoff. It's more tricky when they go forward after their first run back because you've got the bounce factor to avoid. You've got to try and get them fresh for their second run back, and sometimes they don't perform quite as well second back, and that will be the task with this 6-year-old. But he's lightly raced. He's got few miles on the clock. He's only run 7 times. He's won a couple of times now, both wins here at Chelmsford. So clearly this surface does suit him. But he's run on turf and he has run with credit on the green stuff as well. And with that in mind, he holds an entry in the John Smith's Cup on the 15th of July. And I think he'd be very legitimate in that field. He'd have a good chance in that race if he doesn't bounce. Now watch this surge off what's a good even gallop once they get into the home straight. He picks up and he flies away from his rivals. Stormcatcher in the yellow, beginning to pick up and run on. One step beyond likewise, making a few late gains, but this horse is away and gone. Long Tradition just nudged out by Christian Howarth in the closing stages. Hasn't had a hard race. He's eased down late on. And if the John Smith's Cup doesn't come too soon for him, it's on the 15th of July, if that doesn't come too soon, then he's going to be very competitive there, or wherever he turns up next. You would have thought this was quite a competitive race. Stormcatcher is a good, consistent handicapper, and the 3rd horse came here in great form, having won last time up. So overall, I think we've seen something pretty good from this Saeed bin Suroor trained individual who's going to go on to better things. The big task now for the bin Suroor team is to get this horse to back this performance up and to avoid the dreaded bounce. If he can do that, it'd be tough to beat next time. So from Chelmsford, let's turn our attentions to Leopardstown last week. It was a good card on Thursday. Here are the winners from that card. We're going to look at a couple of races from it. We're going to look at the last 2, in fact. Waltham over 1.5 miles, winning that in 2:47.59, just about 5 seconds outside standard. And Enniscorthy winning the 1.7 mile QR handicap at 8:20 and 3:17.07. That's 5.57 outside standard. It was a very good night for Colin Keane. He rode a treble, and that included the win on Waltham, which is the race we're going to have a look at right now. He's a newcomer from the Ger Lions team, and he was the 4-1 favourite. King Leo de Grance was 9-2, open to question, well backed, 9-2 from sevens. Aziva was 5-1, it was 15-2, and bigger the rest. And we do have the benefit of course track sectionals at Leopardstown to help us analyse what happened in this race. I'll pick them out in a moment. We'll jump them off. Waltham came from stall number 3. He's a bit slowly away. The grey horse, pink cap, down towards the inside. He was quite tardy into stride, and thereafter Colin Keane decides to ride impatiently and take him right round the inside. And this horse, I think, is pretty good. Colin gives him a great ride. He doesn't angle out until he has to. He doesn't give away any ground through the race, and Waltham really responds to that excellent ride from Colin Keane. The main principles in this race raced quite handy, so if we stop it there, here's your winner. He's back down against the rail. You've got King Leo de Grance in blinkers for Aidan O'Brien, and then you've got Aziva there, who finished in 3rd place. So that tardy start has put him on the back foot a bit in a race that was just steadily run, really. The finishing speed percentage was 108.96, so denoting that Waltham came home 8.96% quicker in the last 3 furlongs than he ran the rest of the race. So he's picked up nicely through those final 3 furlongs. And the individual course track sectionals tell us that he was totally dominant in the closing stages of this particular race. So a bit of a crawl, so he's done well from a poor position to even get involved. Luckily, he doesn't get much of his momentum checked as he tries to make his way through the field. But Colin Keane was absolutely brilliant for me, turning for home here. He sat right on the inside, he didn't panic, he didn't angle out till he had to, and he waited for a gap, and when he gets it, you'll see that Waltham responds instantly to get into that gap and then quicken away from his rivals. He does show a really good turn of foot, this horse. He's boxed in against the rail there, nowhere to go, but Colin is not going to panic. He's got Aziva in front of him, he's got King Leo de Grance in those blinkers in front of him as well, and he is very much bottled up with nowhere to go here. But just wait for Colin, he doesn't panic, he'll find a way out in a moment, and this horse will respond. His final 3 furlongs, 35.99, the runner-up 36.77. He's way quicker than the other horses in this race through the final 3 furlongs. You can look at the final 3 furlongs on the Racing TV website. In the results section of this race, you can see how fast each individual horse ran the final 3 furlongs, and he was way quicker at 35.99. And indeed, he was quickest through each of the individual final 3 furlongs. Nothing in any of those 3 furlongs ran quicker than him. All of those furlongs he was fastest in the race. Now Colin's angled out and got a perfect seam, perfect run. He didn't make his challenge coming round the bend and then end up having to challenge wide and give away ground. He waited, and he's got a lovely seam to go between horses and come and challenge. That's a very good bit of riding from Colin. And then Waltham responds at 11.76, 11th furlong, to surge his way to the front and run away from this field. He clearly knew his job on his debut, and he's open to a fair bit of improvement, I'd have thought. At 11th furlong, he was the only horse to dip under 12 seconds. Nothing could live with him at all. A totally dominant final 3 furlong performance from this fella. Look at his head down low as he quickens, as he picks up for Colin Keane. He's got a lovely pedigree. He's by Roaring Lion out of a Dancilly mare. And I put it to you that this is an above average performance from a newcomer. He was learning on the job all the time. The excellent ride that he's got will stand him in really good stead, this fella. He's not had a hard time. It's all hands and heels from Colin Keane in the closing stages. I don't know where they're going to go with him. It might be softly, just bring him along gently. But he could make up into a pattern class stayer. He looked very good out there. He's got a turn of foot for a horse that stays well, and that will see him win in better company. Now, you might find it a bit strange that I've picked out this QR maiden that took place at Leopardstown last Thursday night. It was the final race on the card, but it's produced a tremendous performance from number 5, Enniscorthy. It was a 5-1 shot. Nakini was the 5-4 favourite, 9-2 Moncur, then Enniscorthy at 5s. What a Wit was a raider from the Sir Mark Prescott yard, a big drifter, out to 6-1 from 7-2, and a piece of heaven was 8-1. This really was quite a taking performance from Enniscorthy, better known for his hurdling and chasing exploits. In fact, he's a better chaser than he's a hurdler. He's a Grade 3 winner at that level. He came from stall number 3. Finn Maguire was on board for the Barry Connell team. Moncur was second. He's very wide, 15. And third home was What a Wit for the Sir Mark Prescott team. A rare raider for him. And that's run pretty well, What a Wit. But Enniscorthy, at every stage of this race, looked like he was going to win. He tanked along through the contest, off what was a layoff, so he's returned better than ever. 7 months he'd been off the track, and well, I don't think layoffs these days are ever a negative thing. Now, in a strongly run race, he's given a patient ride, having missed the break. There he is, sat in there in the yellow colours. He'll be easy to spot throughout the contest, and it's an armchair ride for Finn Maguire. This horse running for the first time on the flat under rules. Now, he's running bumpers. He didn't win a bumper. He's won over hurdles, and he's a pretty good chaser as well. As I said, he's won a Grade 3 chase, so he's a horse with an engine. But I just think that the way he did this in this QR contest suggests that there's going to be a decent handicap for him somewhere along the line. And let me just point you in the direction of an amateur rider's handicap that's going to come up at Galway, at the Galway Festival. This might be a horse to put in your Racing TV tracker and keep an eye out for him, perhaps running in that race or another similar contest. Now, how was this run? Well, it's quite strongly run. It's more strongly run than the Waltham race, 103.5% finishing speed percentage. The winner tanking along throughout and dominating the final stages of this race. All the other horses in the race, you can see their finishing speed percentages on the website, the Racing TV website, and they were all around about 100. So it was quite a strongly run race for the grade, and the winner given quite a patient ride. Moncur is given a patient ride, just up in front of him. They were both a mid-division. It's a sensible place to be, really. Just pick the winner out for you there, and there's Moncur, sat in second. Further up in the white colours is What a Wit, who ended up finishing third. But they really can't lay a glove on Enniscorthy in the closing stages. Through each of the final 3 furlongs, the 13th he was the quickest, 12:33. The 14th he was the quickest, 12:58. And the 15th he was the quickest, 13.17. So rather like Waltham, he's completely dominated his field in the closing stages. 38.08, his final 3 furlongs, quicker than anything else in the race by some way. And he has absolutely bolted up here. There's a lovely shot of him when you turn into the home straight, where he's absolutely tanking, and Finn Maguire almost takes a pull out of him. He just thinks, well, you're going way too well. I don't want to get to the front just yet. He's tracking Moncur through there in the yellow colours. He's made up a little bit of ground. You can see there his head going from side to side. He's hard on the bridle as he begins to make up ground. This is where Finn Maguire just wants to ease him a little bit closer. Moncur's going well. Blue colours, yellow cap. And he's tracking him through. But look at him here. He's absolutely bopping along in behind. Now, this isn't a very strong race, so I don't get too carried away. But he's annihilated them. Just there, look. He's cantering there. Finn Maguire's, well, he's totally motionless. And I know the horses around him are not particularly good. Look at him here. He's just laughing at them now, and he's about to sprint away. As soon as Finn Maguire says go, there you go, says go, and off he goes. Not the sort of thing you associate with a 2-mile chaser, is it really? But he's gone and done it on the flat in great style. I suppose his future lies in the hands of the handicapper to a degree. What will the handicapper do after this? I mean, he was a high 130 rated hurdler. I fail to see that the handicapper could give him too much for winning this race. It wasn't a particularly strong one. If he was to get a mark in the, I don't know where he'll put him, in the 90s maybe? 90? He'd still look pretty well in if he was to compete in a handicap after that. You can see how well strung out they are. It wasn't a particularly good race. But if for a hurdler and a chaser, that burst of speed he showed, the 13th, the 14th and 15th furlongs, that was way too much for his rivals. And he seems better than ever coming back off that 7-month layoff. And I thought nicely handled by Finn Maguire as well. I think there's going to be a handicap for him in the very near future, and probably another amateur riders affair. Let's head now to Newmarket, to the July course for the first time this season. And we're going to have a look at 3 races, one on Friday and a couple from Saturday. So we'll start with Queen's Reign, who won for the Ed Walker team on Friday evening. That was 1:27.88 for Queen's Reign over 7 furlongs. Quite slow, 4.78, slower than standard. The slowest time on the card, the time suggesting that we were dealing with quite quick ground. I'd say good to firm times for sure there. And a slowly run race for Queen's Reign, and that's why we got that pretty slow time. But it's an interesting race to review nonetheless. This is how they bet for it. It was Faisal, who was the 11-8 favourite, quite well supported. 2-1 Queen's Reign. Guidecca was 11-2. Oops, 8-1. 14's Al Nouri Star. Makuri, 80-1. So it was Queen's Reign who prevailed and did so from stall number 2. Second place is Guidecca from stall number 6 for the Sir Michael Stout team, and Oops was in 3rd place from stall number 1. Now, you may ask, why have I picked out a race that was the slowest time on the card? Well, the overall time tells a tale, but how was that time achieved and what happened to horses in behind? And I think that's what makes this race of some interest. Queen's Reign dawdled along in front. A finishing speed percentage of 110.77 tells us that this was a crawl. You can see she's just bowling along. She's got her own way. She's not really pressured at all, and she has a massive tactical advantage. Plus, she had the benefit of a previous run, and she was very promising on her debut, and she certainly takes a step forward to win here. Let's just stop them there. There's your winner, dawdling along in front. Here's the runner-up, who's at a positional disadvantage. This is Guidecca on debut for Sir Michael Stout, and held up in last place. The well-backed favourite is in the yellow colours to the left, and Oops is just keen and just in behind there, that cap right in there. So this winner, the benefit of an easy lead, the ability to be the first to strike for home, but not the fastest through the final 3 furlongs. That award goes to Guidecca. 33.9, just a 1/10 of a second quicker than the winner. But the winner had a 2 or 3 length head start and was able to quicken up from the front, and Guidecca just couldn't reel her in. I think Queen's Reign shouldn't be marked down for this performance. It wasn't her fault that she got an easy lead, and she did quicken up in good style. But there's definitely more to come from the runner-up, who looked green under pressure and was not given a hard time when sent in pursuit of the winner. The runner-up fired 2 sub-11 second furlongs going in pursuit of Queen's Reign. 5th furlong, 10.93. 6th furlong, another 10.93. But that wasn't good enough because of greenness and a positional disadvantage in the race. I think they are both quite nice fillies. You can see from this head on that Guidecca doesn't quite know what to do when she's really asked a question. Look, there she goes. Just drifting to her right, edging to her right, little bit green, but she still fired 2 10.93 second furlongs. But she was trying to run down a filly who had the benefit of experience and also the benefit of having an easy lead and being afforded 3 or 4 lengths by Guidecca. Stick Guidecca into your Racing TV trackers. You'll find that on the website, because I think she's a surefire winner going forward. But it would also be wrong to underestimate the winner. It wasn't just about an easy lead for her, for she does quicken up in good style. She's got a decent engine. She comes from a yard, that of Ed Walker's, that's in really good nick at the moment. A winner at Royal Ascot last week for them. They're going well. She's quite nice, and Guidecca will win very soon. So from the July course on Friday night to Saturday afternoon, an excellent card. Overall, the times are a little bit slower than they were on the Friday. A couple of races to have a look at. We'll start with Imperial Emperor in the 2:42. He won that mile contest in a time of 1:41, 3.5 seconds outside standard. And then we'll move on to Ancient Wisdom, who won the 1:32 in 1:26.62, and he was 3.52 outside standard. I think 2 nice horses, but particularly the one we're going to start with, it's Imperial Emperor. This is the Novice Stakes that Baid won in 2021, and Imperial Emperor was 3s on to win it. Batista was 5-1, Sniper's Eye 8-1, and 14's Moon Spirit, Pretty Peg 40s, and Omaha was 200-1. Okay, I think this is a really good horse, Imperial Emperor. It came out of stall number 2, and he's got the better of Sniper's Eye, who's drawn next to him, Stan's side, and then Batista from 6 was back in 3rd place. So let's see what happens now. It was quite steadily run. The winner made every yard of the running, a finishing speed percentage of 109.94. He's quickened up in the final 3 furlongs, 9.94% quicker than he ran the rest of the race. He did get a little bit of an easy lead out in front, but that finishing speed percentage, I believe, is not just a function of a steady-ish gallop early on, saving petrol. It's also a function of how sharply this horse was able to quicken up. And if you delve into the figures, the course track numbers that you'll find on the website, you'll see that he quickens really smartly. The 6th furlong, 10.81. That was way too much for his rivals. And then the 7th furlong, 11.22. Now there's an eye-catching performance in behind from Sniper's Eye, who finishes in 2nd place, held up in the black cap right out the back. He does manage, in pursuit of the winner, to fire a very quick 6th furlong. He goes 10.65, the fastest furlong in the race. But he's got a very good horse who's sprinting away in front of him, and that's simply not good enough for him to go and catch Imperial Emperor, who's quickening up now. Sniper's Eye firing that furlong to try and go in pursuit of this winner, but the winner nudged out, quickens well, and sticks on all the way to the line. He'll seize out this mile very strongly indeed. He's by Dubawi out of a dam who won a Grade 1 in the United States of America, and he's not given a hard time in the closing stages to pull readily clear of Sniper's Eye, who in my opinion had an impossible task trying to run down this good-looking son of Dubawi. He was quickening in front of him. Sniper's Eye, he himself quickened well, but he couldn't get anywhere near this very easy winner. It'll be a relief for the Charlie Appleby team that this horse went in, because he was well touted on his debut when he won. I think they do like him, and like him quite a lot, and they'd have been disappointed if he'd been defeated here. You can see there he's still a little bit green, he's still running around, he wants to go to his right, and James Doyle gets his whip into his right hand to try and keep him straight. But nothing can live with him through those final 3 furlongs, which were really impressive. His 6th of 10.81 from the front meant that he was completely uncatchable, ears pricked as soon as he crosses the line, and he's won as he liked. He's going to surely step up in grade now. Won't be quite sure where he'll go. Probably a listed contest. They might look to come back here to the July course for something, but I'm sure that he'll be up into much better company next time out in pursuit of a hat-trick bid. And just one other thing, paddock watchers will be salivating when they look at this horse, because he is a really good-looking individual. You can see him there. He's a fine, fine son of Dubawi, and I think there's going to be a lot more to come from him down the line. There he is coming back into the winner's enclosure. A sigh of relief possibly for Charlie Appleby, and I think he's got a really nice horse on his hands. And finally here on the verdict, let's have a look at some materials in the novice stakes that took place at Newmarket on Saturday afternoon. It was 7 furlongs of the trip. Ancient Wisdom, the 6-1 on favourite. Travolta 15-2. 10's Never So Brave. Benny Byrne 33s. And By Default was a 50-1 shot. Grand good to firm in places. I think that's pertinent when we look at the way Ancient Wisdom moves. He gets the job done from stall number 5, giving James Doyle and Charlie Appleby a double on the day. Never So Brave was in 2nd place and quite eye-catching, and Travolta finished back in 3rd place. So this winner, Ancient Wisdom, had won on his debut at Haydock under James Doyle, and he had been pretty impressive. Here he's not quite as impressive, but he gets the job done by quickening up quite well in the closing stages. Now you can see a few of them are quite keen. That includes Never So Brave in the yellow cap, doing a bit too much in the early stages. That's because they didn't go mad up front. Finishing speed percentage is 104.28%, so the winner 4.28% quicker in the final 3 furlongs the rest of the race. So it wasn't a very strongly run 2-year-old contest, but they certainly quickened up in the final 3 furlongs. And he quickens well, but he drifts to his left, you'll see, in the closing stage when James Doyle gets hold of him. And it just takes a while to stretch on the fast ground. I wonder if it was a little bit quick for him. When he does stretch, he posts quite an impressive number. The 6th furlong, he went 11.21. That's his penultimate furlong, where James is getting after him here now. But he's just taking a while to put it to bed, and he's definitely lugged to his left. And you think he's in trouble here, but he does pick up now. He's going between the 2 and the 1 now when he does 11.21, and that seals him the race. That gets him away from his rivals. Never So Brave on the outside, Travolta between horses. Never So Brave, very green and running around in pursuit of the winner. And he'll definitely be better for this outing, and there'll be more to come from that Sir Michael Stout trained horse in the future. And he's one for your Racing TV trackers as well as some of the others that I've highlighted today. I just think that maybe the winner could have done with a better gallop, and perhaps he just wants a little bit more ease in the ground, because he does hit the ground quite hard. He did take a while to pick up, and James Doyle had to get semi-serious with him just to make him go about his business, but he did stretch once he got to the rising ground from the 2 to the 1, and he fired that quick furlong. So perhaps the rising ground helped him. You see there, look at his action. You can just see that he bends his knee quite a lot, and he hits the ground pretty hard. And perhaps it's no surprise that he looked a bit all at sea until he hit the rising ground. And it's a little bit easier to gallop uphill with an action like that. Just concentrate on his knee curl, really hitting the ground hard. I think he's a very good horse. He's a quick horse. That 11.21 told us that. But perhaps he's always going to want perhaps just good ground, or maybe a little bit of ease in the ground to give of his best. But he remains unbeaten. He's 2 from 2. Another nice winner for Charlie Appleby on the day. So I hope you enjoyed those horses that I was able to bring you on the verdict this time around. Plenty for your Racing TV tracker. They include in that last race definitely Never So Brave. I thought Waltham was good at Leopardstown for the Ger Lions team. Enniscorthy, keep an eye out for that horse perhaps in a handicap. I really thought Imperial Empress was the star of the show though. Thought he was very good indeed for Charlie Appleby at Newmarket, and there's going to be an awful lot more to come from him. I wouldn't be surprised if he's a group race performer in the making. Thanks for watching this week. Be sure to have a look at the website for my verdict extra column, which will be there late tomorrow afternoon. But for now, from me, I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.